There just wasn't enough dogs on the team. And just imagine, look how close they were, and they didn't even have
Yeah,
enough dogs. Like people,
yeah,
people think, oh, Colorado last year. I'm like, no, you need to go back and watch them games, man. It's not
exactly.
as far out as it's not. It wasn't nothing like that. That wasn't the 1-11
Mhm.
season last week. So, but I definitely think they got the dogs this year. And boy,
Yeah,
it's gonna be on.
absolutely. So another thing that Shedeur talked about was last year's offense and why it didn't really fit him how he wanted. And he gave an explanation for why certain things happened. And he said there are too many option routes in last year's offense.
Mm.
Now, before we get into what too many option routes means, what an option route is in general, and why it affected Shedeur, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel so more people can see about Buffed and Prime. And we
Yes.
also just went live on You Got the Podcast.
Apple
What are we on?
Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. You find us everywhere. So, right, like us, follow us, review us. All that matters. Everything. And we got a big announcement to make. We plan to do our first live stream for the spring ball,
During
for
the
the spring
spring
game.
game. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
assuming
So
the spring game is going to be nationally televised. If it is, we're going to do a live stream before and during the game, giving our live analysis of everything that's going on. So you guys will be able to finally, we've had a lot of people asking for live shows. So that is our plan. That's the plan to be the first live shows for the spring game. Also, all the podcast links will be in the description of this video. So make sure you scroll down there so you can follow us on there and check out the audio feeds. But let's get in to these option routes. So what an option route is, we're going to add this in right here. It's when a receiver can choose his route based on what the coverage is suggesting, which can be a killer in man coverage. Because if I'm in man coverage and I feel like you're running a corner route, so I end up getting outside leverage to guard the corner route, and then you turn it into a post, which is a complete opposite route, I'm killed. And it also can be really good in zone coverage because the zone might be initially taking the route that you thought was open away, but then when you do the option route, then it ends up open. So there are a lot of benefits to option routes. Now, along with benefits, there's also a lot of issues with option routes as well. So one of the main issues with them is the quarterback and the receiver have to read the coverage the exact same.
right.
Otherwise, they're going to be running. Shedeur might throw a route expecting it to be a certain route, and the receiver might run a different route, which is why he said he couldn't anticipate his throws how he wanted to because he had to wait more.
Right.
And I'm trying to get all 22 film so I can try to find specific plays where it looks like an option route happened or where I see a miscommunication happen. Because again, on the TV copy, you just can't see everybody. But until then, I'm going to just break down the basics of option routes and how they work. So I'll start here. So this slot receiver, let's say he has a corner route. So this is his route. I'll give this guy a hitch right here. And then we'll do the same down here. We'll give him a corner route and give him a hitch right here. So, and let me do this right here. Okay. So just for perspective, this is what we have. Now, let's say for whatever reason, we are in this defense is in cover two. So in cover two, we'd have this guy, this safety, he's going to be deep right here. And then this corner will have this flat. So just by looking at this, if this corner decides to play deep and not jump on this hitch route, then he'll be underneath this corner. And then the safety will be right on top. So it's can be a really good defense for corner routes, depending on how this flat player plays it. But let's say that he's going to play deeper back. So Shedeur is going to have a tight window to fit this in. So if this corner has or this receiver has an option route, instead of running this corner, if he sees that it looks like cover two, he could potentially have the option to run a post route. And a post route is the number one beater in a cover two defense. Because when you're in cover two, he's going to be here. He's going to have this flat. He's going to have a hook zone right here. He's going to have a hook zone. and he's going to have a hook zone. So the middle of the field is what's open in cover 2. And especially right here, this safety is going to be on top of this corner route. So he's going to be gone. So if you have an option route right here, it could be an amazing route. And you're like, hey, this is great. However, let's say this safety disguises the start. So let's say this safety has started right here, and this safety had started down here, right there. So if they start here and here, it looks like a 1-high defense, which could be cover 1, which is man coverage, or it could be a cover 3 defense. Versus a cover 3 defense or a 1-high, the post is not open, meaning the middle of the field. It's not open. It's not somewhere you would go. So you would then look to throw a corner route. And I say that because if this receiver had came and was like, hey, they're in cover 3 or a 1-high, so I'm going to run a corner instead of a post, but it ends up being cover 2 and Shedeur reads it at cover 2, the receiver could be running a corner and thinking he's going to get thrown there, but Shedeur's like, hey, it's cover 2, so I'm expecting him to break for a post, so I'm going to throw it in here. And that's how it can really mess up the defense, because you have to be on the exact same page as the receiver when you're doing these plays. So that's just a simple version of how option routes work, but it gets even more technical than that for a few other ways. So right here, this isn't a lot of offenses. It's actually pretty standard. So most of the time when you get a corner up press like this, let's say a hitch route was called right here. Most don't like throwing a hitch route against a pressed up corner because most likely he's playing press man, so he's going to be right there to break up a hitch. So especially if you feel like your receiver has more speed, they'll have an option to check to a go route or a fade just based off of the alignment. Now, let's say, for instance, this quarterback looked right now and saw that he's pressed. Okay, in his mind, he's going to run a go route. But then on the snap of the ball, instead of the corner right here pressing the receiver, let's say that he decides to bail out. So he's really playing to stop a go route or a fade. So the quarterback who may have not seen him change his technique is still thinking, hey, I'm throwing a go route. Whereas the receiver is like, okay, this guy's playing bail technique, so I know he's playing soft coverage, so I'm going to run a hitch. So then this receiver would run a hitch expecting the ball, and the quarterback would be expecting them to keep going for a go route, and that could end up being an interception there, which, again, that causes more thinking to happen and more waiting, which could be, and why Shedeur said he held on to the ball for too long a lot of times last year.
And,
Here's another example.
Yeah, me being CT the fan, my thing is like, we doing option routes with receivers, knowing we wasn't ready in the trenches for that. You got to have a line, like, what I'm saying. And I just feel like, and so that's my thing. Like, you running option routes and you're giving these wide receivers option routes, knowing our offensive line was not the par, right? So then, because it makes sense when you think about, you watch the Oregon game, or I remember Shedeur talking about that in a couple other games, and you could see it. You're like, man, what was Shedeur? He threw it that way, but the receiver went that way. Now it all makes sense what was going on. So I get it.
That can definitely be detrimental to getting your offense on track, especially when they're all new. These aren't receivers that have been playing with Shedeur for 3 years and vice versa, to where, I know exactly what that receiver sees. I know how he sees. I know exactly what he's thinking. These are guys that got together in the spring and the fall. And here's another option route that happens a lot of times, and I saw some miscommunications on, is where this guy could have, let's say, a drag route or over route like this, to where if he's playing man coverage, then he's going to stay on this over route because he has leverage. If he's faster, he's most likely going to beat him and run across the field. However, let's say it's not man coverage. And let's say they're playing a zone here and he's playing a zone here. Another option this receiver could have is to sit down in between the zones. So instead of continuing to run all the way across, he can just stop right here, since he's in the hole of the defense, catch the ball and then turn upfield. But again, this is based on him viewing it that way and Shedeur viewing it the exact same way. Because Shedeur might say, hey, that's not zone. If he keeps running, I got him right here for possibly a touchdown.
Right.
But the receiver might be like, hey, it felt like zone. I felt like I could sit down right here. So you're having to wait an extra split second before you can make decisions with the ball because you're waiting to make sure that you guys are on the same page. And like you said, without a good offensive line, that doesn't help us much because we don't have the time to be able to sit there and read all of those routes and be able to react. When you're good at football and you can play at your best, it's playing fast. The way you play fast is being able to react. Right. It's not having to think. The more you have to think, the slower you are and the less great that you can be. That's why it's important. I was talking about before that we got a D coordinator in soon. So the defensive players can start to get a hold of everything. And then during the spring, it's probably going to be closer to fall camp, they can get to the point where they can react. Because when you react and don't have to think, that's when you can play fast.
That's when you play fast.
I've seen this before. I know what this looks like. All right, go. Instead of, okay, well, he ran this route. Well, maybe it's too much. You need to be able to see and go get it.
No, I agree.
From what Shedeur said, I'm assuming Pat Shurmur does not have as many option routes, or maybe not option routes at all. And as I talked about before, they can be very useful.
Right.
But it has to be catered to your personnel. If Shedeur feels that comfortable with the receivers, cool. If the line can hold up, cool. But we weren't there last year.
Right. To me, it comes across like as a Band-Aid. Like, hey, we need to hurry up and mix something together. Yeah. What's the fastest offense we could implement? Because all these new moving pieces. You're talking about offensive line, quarterback, wide receivers never play with each other. What can we do? And it actually makes sense when you watch the video on how you broke it down. Now you understand the Oregon game. Now you understand, like, okay. And so then your question is, all right, I need a coach or a coordinator who's not going to be scared to pivot and just say, hey, you know what? Look, this ain't gonna work. And that's why that's why I'm always saying, hey, we got to get out. We got to run this ball. Like, we got to run the rock. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the main thing I'm looking at from the first game of the season, to be honest with you. I want to see the running back goes, because I feel like if the run gets going, the passing game is limitless. Like, there's nothing Shedeur ain't going to be able to do. Because I like seeing Shedeur run at the end of this, but I'm like, college football season's starting to get too long. You don't want your quarterback taking unnecessary hits. And he's the quarterback for Colorado. And we saw with Travis Hunter. You know what I'm saying? They say what they want to say. That was a cheap shot. Right. Yeah, you're going to take targets on them. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want them taking unnecessary hits. So I'm glad. I'm excited to see what Sherman going to do, because I hope, at minimum, they limit them option routes.
Yeah.
Got too much talent, right?
Way too much talent. And I think everyone's going to be able to play faster with the offense that doesn't have that, to where they can be comfortable and they can just be them, where Shedeur can anticipate throws. Because when you have option routes, you would try to anticipate a throw too much, it ends up being an interception if you guys are on the same page. And he only threw 3 of those. And I know for a fact at least one of those was a miscommunication. I can't remember what game it was, but I saw it and I was like, okay, might have been Nebraska. I have to go back and look at that. Or USC, I think. It was USC where there was one. I was like, okay, there was some miscommunication there. So I'm excited to see what it looks like in the new offense, for him to be able to anticipate throws, for him to be able to throw his receivers open, because that's what you can do when you know for sure, hey, I gave him a post out the huddle, he's going to run a post.
Right.
Hey, I gave him a slant, he's going to run that slant. Like, I know what's coming. So it's going to be good to see Shedeur be more comfortable, because even with those option routes and him holding the ball long sometimes, it still looked like he was really comfortable. And
look at them stats, bro, which is crazy, right? Like, and he got it there. Like, I do, like you said, I feel like this season, it's like everything's slow, so everything's gonna be so much down. And and I just think that he's gonna have a better offensive line. I do think they're gonna run the ball. I really do. I think they're gonna run the ball. And I think that's gonna force the defense hand. Because like I said, if you want to drop 8, we're gonna run all over you. And that's what
Yeah.
I want the head coach of the other team to say. I want them to say, hey, you know what? When we played Colorado, shoot, we dropped 8 and they ran all over us.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Or we loaded the box, they passed all over us. You know, I mean, that's what I want to see. I mean, Shedeur definitely got the talent. I just like
Mhm.
when I heard him say that, he'd be the number 1 quarterback in this year draft, and I said, and I started thinking about that USC game, and I started saying, you know what, Shedeur is right because he did a lot more with a lot less,
A lot
and
less
I'm
with all
just gonna
those
say
sacks.
that,
Like,
right?
man, if you take, I I can't even verbalize how much of an impact those sacks make just on you mentally,
Mm,
on the offensive line mentally, on the team, and then physically. Like
right.
that physically takes a toll on you.
Hmm.
And mentally, one getting sacked so many times it'll speed up your internal timer as far as when you need to get the ball out. And it just makes it so you can't be comfortable. And
Right.
if we get Shedeur to where he's comfortable, where he can sit, like how we saw teams against us, how we saw Caleb Williams versus us have 12 seconds back there and then throw a bomb for a touchdown.
Mm.
We didn't get to see that from Shedeur. So if we get situations where we can see him just protected, where his jersey's not dirty, I think the offense can just take leaps and bounds from what it was last year,
Mhm.
where it was very high powered at a lot of times during the season.
No, I agree. Yeah, it was definitely very high powered. And he is what makes it go. He is definitely what makes the offense go. Like I said, my main thing with him, let's try to keep him clean, keep that jersey white. Let's try to
Mm-hmm.
limit the hits because the season's long, right? And we rolled through the Big 12, but then when you get to the college football playoffs, you know what I'm saying? You got to be able to run the ball. You
Mm-hmm.
got to be able to like, and you want him to be as healthy as possible. But like I said, uh, this season, I expect Shadoo to do some amazing things, and have some amazing numbers because he's gonna have those dogs. He's gonna have a better offensive line. He's gonna have a better offense coordinator. He's gonna be running in a much better scheme. Like
Mm-hmm.
everything's gonna start to line up for him. And I think it's just gonna be and you're going into a new conference, I just I think the Buffs roll, bro. I just think they roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I'm excited about it, extremely excited about it. So I really can't wait. I'm just ready for spring. I just want to be able to see what starts happening in spring. Now I know that they're gonna limit video because it's a new offense, it's a new
Right.
defense, so they're not
Mhm.
gonna put too much video out there to start. But I'm excited to see clips, especially the DBs, because
Right.
DBs I don't need to see. I can just watch them in individual periods and one-on-ones and be able to see, okay, he's got it. Like I can see how DBs move and be able to see who has it and who doesn't. So it's gonna be really exciting to see film of them.